Okay, so every nation has its stories of transformation, right? But I think you'll agree few are as dramatic as Vietnam's journey. I mean, we're talking about going from decades of conflict to a high-tech digital future. And what's really wild is how that entire journey was powered by one single organization, an organization that evolved right alongside the country it was built to serve.
And it all starts with this core idea. Right from the very beginning of the revolution, communication wasn't just seen as a nice to have tool. No, it was considered the strategic heart of the entire fight for independence. You could say it was the nervous system of the whole movement. So let's go back to the beginning. The story of what would eventually become VNPT wasn't forged in some corporate office building. It was forged in the jungles and on the battlefields of a nation at war. This is where communication became, quite literally, the revolution's lifeline. And you have to understand the incredible bravery of the wartime careers, the Jiaolian. These people were so much more than mail carriers. They were delivering secret military orders, trekking across hundreds of kilometers of jungle, dodging enemy patrols, bombs, even chemical agents. Their ingenuity was amazing, hiding messages in balls of rice, inside bicycle frames, anywhere they could. They lived by this silent code: walk without a trace, cook without smoke, speak without a sound. Every single delivery was a life or death gamble. And behind that mission was just an immense sacrifice. This number here, this represents the people from the posts and telecom sector who gave their lives to keep that lifeline from breaking. Over 10,000 people. It's a staggering number. You know, that sacrifice was so profound that years later, when the industry was being considered for the Gold Star Order, which is the nation's highest honor, this was the question posed to justify it. It frames their contribution in the most powerful terms imaginable. So peace finally comes. But with it comes this new, absolutely monumental challenge. How do you unify two completely different war-torn communication systems, one from the north, one from the south, and merge them into a single network for a nation that's trying to heal? I mean, the task they faced was just daunting. The entire infrastructure was in shambles. We're talking damaged cables everywhere, and these old manual switchboards. Think about that for a second. For every single phone call, an operator had to physically take a wire and plug it into a board to connect you. It was a network in crisis. So all of this difficulty and struggle leads to this critical moment in time. As Vietnam began opening up to the world during the Doi Moi, or renovation era, its leaders faced a pivotal choice, a choice that would really define the country's entire technological future. And you really can't overstate how audacious their decision was. At a time when 95% of the world was still on analog technology, Vietnam chose to leapfrog an entire generation of tech. They could have taken the safe, conventional path, but instead they bet everything on digital, a newer, unproven, but ultimately future-proof technology. It was a massive gamble. Okay, so making that bold choice is one thing, but actually achieving it, that's another story. They faced what seemed like an impossible obstacle. They had no capital, and there was a crippling U.S. embargo that blocked access to all the major tech suppliers. So what did they do? They used clever diplomacy, partnering with firms from France and Australia, and then they found a side door, routing equipment purchases through neutral countries to get around the sanctions. It was incredibly resourceful. And that bold leap of faith, the one they secured through that strategic side door, well, it paid off, big time. It just unleashed this totally unprecedented era of growth, and they began rapidly connecting Vietnam to itself and to the rest of the world. The momentum was just incredible. Seriously, look at this timeline. In just over a decade, they launched Vietnaphone, the first mobile network actually run by Vietnamese engineers. A year later, boom, the country's connected to the global internet. Then they lay their first undersea fiber optic cable. And by 2008, they're launching their own satellite into orbit. They literally built the foundational pillars of a modern digital nation from scratch. And that brings us to today. This is where VNPT has evolved once again. They've gone from being just a telecom provider to being the primary architect of Vietnam's entire national digital transformation. They're not just providing the service anymore, they're building the whole system. So why does that matter now? Well, because VNPT built the absolute core platforms that are fundamentally changing how citizens interact with their government. Things like the National Public Service Portal and the National Database on Population. These systems are moving millions and millions of processes from paper and bureaucracy to digital. And the results are just staggering. Get this, just one of those platforms, the Public Service Portal, has over 39 million user accounts. It's processed 500 million documents online, and the economic impact? It's saving the state budget over 1.2 trillion Vietnamese dong every single year. That's huge.
But the mission keeps going. Now, the focus is on mastering that next wave of technology. They're leading the charge on 5G, on AI, on cloud computing, and there's this huge emphasis on Make in Vietnam technology to make sure the country doesn't just use tech, but actually creates it. It's all about maintaining its digital sovereignty. You know, when you look back at this incredible journey, from those jungle careers risking their lives to the AI engineers who are literally building a digital nation, it shows this constant, incredible evolution, always driven by what the country needs. It really leaves you wondering, after accomplishing all of this, what monumental challenge will they take on next?